precisely 12:30 and the Senate Minerals Committee comes to order. Wow, is that good or what? And welcome to everybody today. We're going to be pretty quick today because we're calling it off at 1 o'clock. I don't know how many bills we'll get through, but we're back in session at 1:10. So first bill to come before us. Oh, first, no.
Are we in the right committee?
We've got to have roll call.
We should roll call.
Yeah, we should roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Beitman,
Excuse.
Senator Cooper,
Here.
Senator Rothfuss,
Here.
Senator Wasserberger,
Here.
and Chairman Anderson.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a quorum then. We can move through these bills. Yes, Senator Rothfuss.
Is there any chance of us doing more than one bill? Because I think we could probably, I don't know what order we've got, but
I think,
DEQ, for example.
I think we're probably going to get through one bill. That's what I think. But we'll see. Maybe we're quick. Mine reclamation, they're on all
There's
three
no
of
way
them.
we're doing two, or I mean three.
Yeah, no.
No way we're doing
no.
three.
So House Bill 46, Partnership Challenge Loan Program Amendments.
Members of the committee, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Keefe, Economic Development Finance Manager at the Business Council. I will try to move quickly. If you recall, this amendment bill was all about upping some limits and trying to make the programs more usable at the Business Council, like we were asked to do this last year. There were some questions on the other side regarding one thing that I wanted to specifically go over in relation to the contract loan. I'm sorry, maybe I'll slow down. Mr. Chairman, do you want me to kind of work through the bill, or would you like a summary or? Okay, yes, sir. So we're.
Yes, wait a minute.
Sorry, but even
Yeah.
before, come on. Even before we start, this is not green, so was this not amended, or was it amended over in the House? And I just don't have a green copy. Or purple.
Chairman Anderson, Senator Roth, it was not amended.
Okay,
Oh,
handy.
okay.
Thanks.
All right, go ahead.
All right. The first one is the 50/50 program. That's combining the bridge loan and the guaranteed loan program into one program, make it easier to understand. Also up the limits for that to work with banks on that deal. It's very confusing, the previous terminology. The next one is the actual challenge loan program. This is designed to go to the EDOs, or the economic development organizations around the state. Has historically been a 50/50 cash match program. Very difficult to use because many economic development organizations do not have the liquidity to put up half the cost of a project that they want to do. So that changes it to an 80-20 split. Going down to the contract financing program, there were some concerns raised in the House on the floor about the clause around the 2 denial letters, which I know we kind of briefly touched on in the committee level. There was some concern about why would the Business Council loan on a loan that has been denied by a bank twice. But I think one of the struggles was it's not a credit worthiness issue. It's a type of collateral issue. It's that banks do not generally take contracts as collateral. And so the idea was to eliminate the perception of competition and taking business away from the banks. And so that was why that clause was in there. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, I believe is important. So, and then the last piece of this is the succession loan program. The idea is to help pass down those businesses by working with the banks, again, like we do in the other programs, to try and help keep those businesses on Main Street and operating into the future. And there are some sideboards around how much the Business Council can lend, also that the business has to be in existence 7 consecutive years before that would happen. So I know that was a very fast overview, but I think overall the idea is to try and be beneficial to businesses and spur economic development and fill some niches that can't be filled in conventional financing. So
Very good, Josh. Thank you for the quick. Any questions for Josh? Any questions for Josh? No questions for Josh?
All right.
Thank you, Josh.
thank you, sir.
is the agency here would like to discuss this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joe Mulberry. I'm the Deputy Commissioner in the Wyoming Division of Banking, and I'm currently also serving in the position of Interim Commissioner until a replacement for Albert Faulkner is named. With me today is Jeremiah Bishop, who's also a Deputy Commissioner in the Division of Banking. We just wanted to provide a brief overview of our role in connection with this bill. By statute, our office is charged with performing an annual examination of the Partnership Challenge Loan Program. We perform a financial and compliance audit on or before April 1st annually and provide a completed report to the council, the governor, and LSO on or before May 1st. We've reviewed the proposed changes in this bill and we do not have any concerns. If this bill is passed, we will make the necessary adjustments in our examination procedures to account for the changes. Jeremiah oversees the program that we do annually, and he'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mulberry. Any questions that we have?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Rothfuss.
It seems like there's no concerns with any of the changes here and it doesn't cause you any problems.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Thank you.
No other questions? Thank you. Thank you for your testimony, Jeremiah and Joel. Is there any legislators that would like to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Bear, House District 31. I just came because I floor manage this bill on the House side and just wanted to offer my assistance to whoever you assign for that duty on your side.
Good, thank you. Is there any questions for Representative Bear from somebody who might want to chair this or floor it? No? I'll guess we get to that later when
All
we
right.
assign it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Representative Bear. Representative Bear, you did not have any changes or anything in the House, huh?
Mr. Chairman, no. There was a lot of pushback on, as Mr. Keefe said, about the two bank denial portion, but we managed to overcome that battle in the House floor and got a pass.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Bear. Anyone else in the public like to speak on this? Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Lisa Johnson with the Wyoming Economic Development Association. Would just like to be on the record in support of this bill. Economic development finance is one of our top legislative priorities, and that's because that's one of the first questions a company will ask when they're working with their local economic development group. And we know that you've worked closely with the Wyoming Business Council to develop this legislation, and we ask for your favorable consideration.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Very good, Lisa. Is there any questions for Lisa about economic development? Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for being here. Anyone else like to speak on Senate File 46? Or excuse me, House Bill 46. Excuse me. Is there anyone on the Zoom? No one on the Zoom? No one on the Zoom? No one in the room? We'll close public comment and committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Cooper, seconded by Was. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Yes, Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we worked this bill pretty well in the interim. I support the folks that spoke here in the room today, and I think it's time to move forward with this bill. Thank you.
Other discussion? Other discussion? Sensing the body's ready to vote, would you call roll call, please?
Senator Beitman.
Aye.
Senator Cooper.
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss.
Aye.
Senator Wasserberger.
Aye.
Chairman Anderson.
Aye.
That's
Okay,
5
Representative
ayes,
Bear,
do pass.
that snuck by the Minerals Committee. You squeaked by. Who would like to present this on the floor? We've got Representative Bear here that could help you with it.
I don't think he's allowed on the floor.
He'll have to.
Bears allowed. That's
No
pretty
bears
good. That was-
allowed.
That was quick. I don't know if that was your first time using
Yeah.
that one, but I like it.
Nobody?
I'm probably gonna do the next one.
Nobody? Senator Wasserberger will present that, so that's who you can school on this. And school him as good as you did, we'll be in good shape. Okay, next one. Next bill to come before the Senate Minerals Committee is House Bill 45, Mine Reclamation Bonding Voluntary Assigned Trust. Might not be the first time we've heard that one. Would anybody like to present the bill? Would the director like to present the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd Parfit, Director of the Department of Environmental Quality, and with me is Kyle Wentland, the Land Quality Division Administrator. This bill was addressed during the interim, and in the interest of time, I was going to ask if it would be okay with the chair that Kyle Wentland walk you through the bill very briefly.
Very briefly, that'd be wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, I will walk you through very briefly here on just the key points. What this bill does is it creates a voluntary assigned trust as a tool or instrument for reclamation bonding in the state of Wyoming. It applies to permits and licenses, but not notifications such as LMOs. One of the key points in the bill is that there is a split between coal and non-coal. Coal has a protection on the corpus because of the SMACRA provisions, and non-coal, you have a little more diverse or open investment opportunity because there is not that federal restriction with our primacy agreement, so on the SMACRA provisions. It has a 5% annual input into the fund. You get, yes, it is.
Closer to you.
Okay. It has a 5% annual input into the trust with a 1 in 5 year holiday on that provision. And then it requires the DEQ to go forward with rulemaking and provide, a way input into the trust, and then also the withdrawals for the trust and provisions for a transfer to a new owner. And then also coordination with a federal agency when we have federal service involved like BLM. And it would put the bill in place as effective of July 1 of 22. So that is a very brief overview. If there are specific questions or items you'd like me to go back to, I certainly can.
Questions for Mr. Windland? Questions, Senator Rothfuss?
Thank you. And Mr. Wentland, the last time we discussed this when we were passing out of committee, I raised a concern that I didn't see any necessity to be proscriptive or restrictive in any way when it comes to making contributions to this voluntary trust because it's a voluntary trust. As drafted, it's a requirement of 5%, and then we have penalties in place for not meeting this amortization schedule concept. And then we want them to continue until it's fully funded. I still don't understand, but I asked, and so you knew this question was coming because I asked last time to have an answer for it. So the answer is, why do I care how much it's funded? And why do I care how quickly it's funded? It seems like anything moving in that direction is good for us, and any flexibility we can provide doesn't have any liability to the state in providing it. So I guess my question is, I see that it's coming over clean, but I'll tell you, I'm ready to amend it and provide infinite flexibility, so convince me I shouldn't.
Mr. Chairman, I have a five-fold answer for Senator Rothfuss. So first, as you indicated, Mr. Chairman, the trust is voluntary. It's a choice to engage into this option as a financial instrument for reclamation bonding. So two, if you look in through our discussions, it provides a tool, this additional tool to industry, and it reduces risk to the state in this. So that those are reasons to be in it. It controls long-term collateral and premium commitments from the companies. Right now, if you have to go out and get a surety and you have to renegotiate every year what your basis is going into that and your collateral requirements are, that is fair game. This gives you some assurance of what that will be at the 5%. So when you look at that too, in the range, Mr. Chairman, we are seeing between 1.5 to 3.5 basis on premium, and you're seeing anywhere from a 40 to 60% collateral commitment on any one of these surety level bonds. This is a much more, I'm not going to say affordable, but it is a more attractive option than committing that kind of collateral. That's where your big gain is. It also provides industry with access to the investment funds authorized by the state treasurer. Now, it's not a bond pool, and we don't want to get into that discussion, but the money is in the larger pool of the state investments. So you have security and investment with that. And by having that 5% and knowing of that investment on the treasurer's side of this, he has knowledge of what he has to work with and what he has the ability to invest with in that window. And if a company wanted greater flexibility, and this would be the last point, Mr. Chairman, and this isn't a good fit for them or their operation or their business model, they have the option to go and do this on their own, and they would have greater flexibility with that, but they lose all those other advantages.
And
Senator Roth.
on that, Kyle, you've convinced me this is a good policy to have the investment, and I've agreed with that overall all along. I think this is a wonderful program. I'll support it. But you still haven't convinced me that from the state's perspective, revenue to the state, surety to the state, all of the interests of the state, that I care whether I get 4% this year or 2% or 5%, because the revenue from that goes back to the participant, not the state, right? So we don't profit from that. Am I correct in that? We don't have any taking from this, do we?
Mr. Chairman, that's true once it's fully funded. We have a stake in it up until it's fully funded because it's backing reclamation.
It's backing reclamation, but it has to be 100% offset by sureties in other forms until then. So it will always be secured at what we contemplate to be 100% if necessary bonding or trust or instrument. Is that correct? So from our percentage or our perspective as the state, if it's a 50% funded pool versus a 100% funded pool, the surety is still at 100%. It's just which instrument's being used. Is that accurate?
Mr. Chairman, that's accurate to get to the full cost bonding.
Right.
Let me respond in one
Yeah.
other element here that might hopefully sway your balance. You also have to consider, there's inflation, there's an escalating, continuous escalation in bonds typically as a company is expanding. We have, please, Mr. Chairman. So what we typically see is you don't see that reversal until you go into closure of an operation. So if you're not inputting into this and you're not adding, it never really gains or keeps up. You're at a stagnant point. That's not the object here.
But Mr. Chairman, again, that's the business decision of the business, the participant, not the state. I don't see why the state cares yet.
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman and Senator Rothfuss, I think that one of the compelling arguments is that it's about risk to the state. So the greater the participation into the assigned trust, the less risk that the state holds. The more surety that a company holds, the greater the risk. There's still risk associated with a surety.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I do understand, and so I see the favorability of participation in this. But the concern I have is if you have a company that is 50% participated and they're willing to go to that point, that is better for the state than 0%. I think you just basically said that. So I think we agree on that. But if their business does not see a clear path at 5% rates every year where they have the certainty of cash flow to achieve it, they can't sit out for more than 1 year. The interest is forfeited if they fail to. When I do this math as that company, I see risk for me, not for the state of Wyoming, but risk for me. And I just don't see the value to the state in excluding anyone from this program. I want everyone to participate. I love this idea. But being prescriptive in how they do it, micromanaging the process of how they fill a fund, I don't see why we would do that. And I think right now, this time in history is the perfect example. Wow, could they fill this sucker up right now, right? But they shouldn't, because they worry about cash flow next year. So what they should do instead is take the earnings this year, where they have excess profit, if this were in place as written, and then I would sequester that away someplace else, and I would hold it someplace else that's on my books, so that I can continue to have savings reserve cash flowed so that I can meet your 5% payments. I have no idea why we would make them do that. We should just take it all now. This is when they can afford it, and it would look good on their books right now. They want to do reclamation right now. They have excess revenue right now. This doesn't let them, because we structurally penalize that uncertainty by saying we want certainty. And so we shift the risk to them. There doesn't need to be any risk. Right now, if they have 100 million extra for reclamation and that turns out to be 8.2%, they should feel good about putting the 8.2% in, knowing that next year they might only get 2%. And then under no circumstance would we want to penalize them by taking their revenue, because now we incentivize them to keep it outside of this trust instead of in this trust. So again, I appreciate the fact that you had 5 points, but I would say I'm 0% more convinced that we should do this than I was at the last meeting. Thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, when we started the discussion with industry, it started at 10. We whittled it down to 5. So industry is aware of this. They've been aware of it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, in your theoretical example, which is a great one, if you're doing that level of reclamation, you're going to be reducing the bond off, and you're going to be reducing your surety, and you're going to be down to where this cash portion is, and that's going to be what's the reduction in risk to the state, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, just on that point real quick, I shouldn't have said reclamation. I meant money towards reclamation without actually accomplishing the recommendation or the reclamation. My apologies. I misspoke, so I didn't mean it quite that way. Please continue. My apologies.
And Mr. Chairman, the other part of this is as this grows, and if you put in those percentages, you still free up collateral. That's where the big gain is. You're going to pay premium either way. You're paying 3 to 5 basis, which is a lot of them are on the higher end of this because of the risk profiles. And, so when you look at that and then you look at reducing and freeing up collateral, that's where the gain is in this.
Mr. Chairman, one more and then.
One quick one.
Yeah, I know we have to go pretty soon. Well, I'll say this, if this is the best formula, if this is the way that every industry should do it, and the points you're saying that this is optimized is correct, if you provided them with the flexibility to do it however they wanted, they would do it this way. So I'd like to still open it up, provide the flexibility, and then 5 years from now at one of these committee meetings, you and I can have a conversation and we'll look back and see if they followed this path. How's that sound?
Mr. Chairman, I would just say it's a good discussion and I appreciate the opportunity.
Given the tenure in the nation now, or even in the world, to bonding and loaning to coal, this might be a real necessary tool for the coal guys in the future. Bentonite, trona, and uranium probably don't have that problem, but coal, oil, and gas are running into problems with financial institutions that are not supporting them. So I think this is very important to the coal industry. Any other questions for the DQ? Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you, Todd and Kyle, for being here. Any other public comment on House Bill 45? House Bill 45.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Travis Detai with the Wyoming Mining Association. First of all, in full support of the bill. And I want to commend Kyle and Kimber especially for their work on this. There's been the committee, been a lot of work to get it this far. I really appreciate the last discussion. You know, we've gone back and forth. We've looked for some compromises. And I think Senator Rothfuss really, I want everybody to be able to participate in this. And I thought the point was very spot on, that every dollar that a company pays into this, whether it's 5%, whether it's 10%, whether it's 3%, is money that is basically banked with the state and for reclamation. So I want full participation, and whether the committee does decide to move forward to adjust those numbers, to add that flexibility, which we would certainly support, or whether we move to just get this stood up, because this is brand new. This has never been done before, and I'm sure we're going to have to come back and take a look at it. But anything that we can do to increase that flexibility, to get people to participate, this is a good concept, a good program, and we support it, and we would hope you would move it forward.
Any questions for Mr. Detail? Any questions for Mr. Detail? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Detail. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you,
Any
Mr.
other
Chairman.
public input in the room? Any public input in Zoom? No Zoom, no room. We'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? Moved by Wasserberger, seconded by Cooper. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Before you go,
Yeah, go
I'd
ahead.
like to welcome Senator Ellis to the Minerals Committee meeting. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm still not convinced that we need to be holding back industry and micromanaging the way that the contributions are made. So I would move to amend on page 3, and this might not be perfect. It'll get the point across, and then maybe we can wordsmith it for a committee of the whole or second reading. But on page 3, line 16, it's participants in the assigned trust shall provide strike annual payments of not less than, let's change it from 5% to 1%. So strike 5, put 1, and afterwards, of the total annual reclamation bond obligation, insert at any time after obligation until the assigned trust is fully funded and sufficient to cover the cost of the reclamation obligation as provided in statute. So it reads, participants in the assigned trust shall provide payments of not less than 1% of the total annual reclamation bond obligation at any time until the assigned trust is fully funded. And then strike on page 4, the C paragraph, the D paragraph, the E paragraph, and then we need to renumber as necessary, because that F now becomes a C, it looks like. And I think that works, and I'm pretty sure that that's all we need to do to make it flexible. And the reason I left in the 1% is a logistical consideration that small payments are difficult to manage by the treasurer's office. They don't want small amounts of money coming at them because it's worth it, you know, the work of investment is significant. So making sure that at least it's 1% of the outstanding amount, I think solves that problem. So this gives full flexibility for them to fill it as they like, and they can really fill it up to any point they like, but should stop filling it up once they reach 100%. The flexibility stays with them, the revenue stays with them, there's no penalties. This leads it to a circumstance where they would be incentivized based on their internal economic and cash flow analysis, as opposed to based on what the state wants for convenience. And in this instance, this is a win-win, a full win-win, I mean, big time win-win, I think, for the state and industry. So
Is there a
that's the
second
amendment.
for this amendment? Is there a second for this amendment? Sorry. Seconded by Wasserberger. Any discussion, any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor of the amendment to House Bill 45, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That amendment carries. Back to the bill. Anything else on the bill?
Roll call.
Anything else on the bill?
Great bill.
Great little bill. Roll call, please.
Senator Beitman,
Aye.
Senator Cooper,
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss.
Aye.
Senator Wasserberger,
Aye.
Chairman Anderson.
Aye. Who would like to carry this on the floor? This is a bill we've worked on a lot.
I'll carry this one.
Were you volunteering?
I volunteered him.
Okay, Rothfuss will carry it. That's all we have time for today, folks. Thanks for being here. We will carry the other bills forward to Monday. Thank you very much.